Welcome back into Talking Fitchburg. Joining today in this very cold, frigid, snowy, must be winter interview. Mark Malekish from the Fitchburg Fire Department. How you doing, sir?
I'm glad to be here. I'm doing great. All layered up.
I know, you're making me a little jealous. Like, should maybe be in my parka or something for this interview as we talk cold weather. Today we're going to focus on clearing out your fire hydrants, talk about cold weather emergencies, and Birdman that was, now isn't, but you should check back. We'll tell you how to do that in a minute. First, we do start, we don't see snow as much as we used to on a regular basis, I would say, during the winters. Our winters are kind of all over the place. But nevertheless, getting in the routine of clearing out fire hydrants, you got to make it part of your routine because seconds count.
They do. They matter. When we pull up and we have to go to work and try and fight a fire, those couple minutes that it's going to take us to shovel out a fire hydrant is going to make a big difference in the growth of that fire. So the faster we can get water to our hoses and water on the fire, the better off we are. And that starts with having a hydrant that's accessible.
And fires burn hotter now than they ever on some of the newer construction, right? I think that's been a data point that has been shared on this show many times.
Yeah, so everything is petroleum based. So in geek terms, our heat flux and our fire dynamics have changed. These aren't the fires of old. These are fast growing, hot fires that we really need to get our arms around in a hurry.
So when we're talking about the fire hydrant and clearing around it, how long does it take for you guys to hook up and get this? Like, if we're really putting a time limit to, we want this to be as fast as possible, what does that look like?
Yeah, perfect world. The hydrant's free and clear of all obstructions, snow, ice, trees, bushes, whatever it happens to be. It's a matter of 30 seconds. Our firefighters practice this all the time. It's one of the core skills that we do. And for them to get a hydrant set up to get water to the truck can be done very, very quickly.
And we need to, we're looking about a 3 foot by 3 foot radius around the hydrant. The better, I always think the bigger the better, but you don't need to clear your whole lawn enough, but you need to get it far enough back that, somebody can get in there in a hurry.
Yep, 3 foot all the way around. That allows the firefighter a good place to work, and then clear to the street, because the street's where the fire truck's parked, and our hose is going to go straight out to that fire truck.
There is Adopt a Fire Hydrant program that's set up through the fire department, so you certainly can adopt a fire hydrant. You can check on the website on how to do that, but you should just take it personally and adopt a fire hydrant, even if it's not on your property. If it's not getting cleared out, help out.
100%. We get the question all the time. In fact, we had a call in yesterday. Whose responsibility is it to clear the fire hydrant that's in my front yard? Well, yours, right? If you don't have one in your front yard, but you've got one nearby, you're part of that little local community. Go ahead and clear that fire hydrant. It won't cost you anything. It's just a couple of minutes of extra work, and the time that it can save is immeasurable.
I always say, get it as part of your routine. When it snows and you're out clearing the snow, do it then, because as it warms up, freezes, and everything else, it just gets harder to clear it out. Also, if you leave that too, it kind of gets slick. So you're kind of creating like an ice skating rink for you guys to get in there as well. So any obstacles, not that you don't like challenges, but it's not worth it.
Making it part of your routine is huge. The other part is on a day like today, there's still plow trucks out there clearing snow and moving snow around. So even that space that might have been cleared earlier may need just a quick going over to make sure that there's good clean access to that fire hydrant, because it does take extra minutes to do the shoveling ourselves.
All right, well, be safe and get those hydrants cleared out, and check back on them too all through the winter, because we definitely want them to be clear and ready to go. I've told the story before. I'll say it again, that there was a fire in Fitchburg a couple of years ago on the coldest night of the year, and unfortunately there was a lot of snow that year. Hydrant wasn't cleared off, took extra time to get it. I remember the chief saying, hey, we better do some more education on this. So it may not happen all the time, but when it is in your area, you want the fastest access for you guys to get in there and do your job. So definitely help out with that.
Absolutely.
As we stay on cold weather topics here, cold weather safety definitely a priority this time of year, but all winter long. I think starting with a plan of action is good when we're talking about whether you're outside, whether it's the home safety, clearing things out around the house. All of those things got to be into that cold weather plan, if you will.
Yeah, first and foremost, today the wind chills were in the negative 20s. And so if you're going to go outside, plan for it. If you have to be outside, if you don't have to be outside, don't. Today's a good day for inside projects. But if you're going to go out in it, know that in the matter of 20, 25 minutes, you can start to develop hypothermia or even
Is it frostbite?
Frostbite
first,
thank you.
hypothermia second. Oof.
Yeah, so make sure that as much of your skin is covered and there's not much exposed.
You know, I went for a walk yesterday. I'm thinking the wind chill was probably in the negative 5 to 10. Ouch. Like, you don't realize, like, I was like, I'm on this new journey of trying to walk every day, and it's been a challenge to try to figure out what's the barrier, but not having my face covered, when I got back in and I lasted 20 minutes, it was red, bright red, and I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah, so on Sunday I went out snowshoeing and the wind was howling. It wasn't quite as cold, but even then you could start to see the effects of the wind chill on my face just being out in it. So cover up, make sure you're being safe.
And then on the inside, you know, we talked earlier this year about carbon monoxide, but checking those carbon monoxide detectors, make sure they're working all the time. But this time of year, priority because we have a heat source on that needs to be ventilated and get that out, you know, that bad air out, so to speak, and could be tragic if not checked.
So making sure, you'll hear me say this probably every time I come on, working smoke alarms and working carbon monoxide detectors save lives. Without question, the data is there. It's a thing, right? Make sure that your carbon monoxide detectors are in working order. Make sure that you have smoke detectors in working order. And make sure that you're using your heating appliances appropriately. So in some places, people are using space heaters. Give that space heater, just like a fire hydrant, a little room to breathe so that it doesn't have anything clogging it up and creating extra heat. Make sure it's plugged into a good source. If you have a forced air furnace and you live in your home, go outside, make sure that your vents are clear. Forced air furnaces need both fresh air coming in and an exhaust. And in weather like this, the heating and cooling can cause condensation that freezes up in there, or snowdrifts. Make sure that those vents are cleared. Make sure that your system can do the work that it needs to do, but do it safely.
How often should you check the smoke detectors and carbon monoxide? Test those.
Manufacturer's recommendation on all of those is monthly. At least once a month, reach up or reach down wherever your detector happens to be and tickle it. Make sure it makes a noise back at you.
Thought it was on daylight savings time.
Well, you should also, on daylight savings time, make sure that your batteries or battery backups have been replaced.
Yeah, and that, I think a lot of people think that it's, you know, if you got the combo one, it might be on the ceiling, but you also have the ones that you plug into the walls too. They all need to be checked, so don't skip out on testing those out and making sure they work. And that 10-year mark too, as long as we're on this path, you know, checking the manufacturer of when to actually replace it, because I found the ones in my home were kind of the original, and somebody pointed out to me like, hey, that was probably put in when the house was put in. Did you replace those? And I was like, what are you talking about?
Yep. So some carbon monoxides will last 10 years, but generally they have a shorter lifespan. The smoke alarms are proven to last just about 10 years.
What if you have one near the kitchen that always goes off? Is that still getting to the 10-year point? Because I've always wondered that. I always feel like that one's probably like, it's beeped enough that it's probably...
So the smoke alarms should go 10 years. The carbon monoxide, there is an element in there that actually continues to grab carbon monoxide and hold on to it, so it's sort of cumulative. So they wear out a little faster.
All right, finally turning over to a burn ban. We had a burn ban in place the last several weeks up until this recent snowfall. It's been relatively dry, and again, we kind of talk about that weird winter now, it being a little bit drier out, whatnot, and you might not think this time of year that people want to burn stuff, but...
Yeah, so this time of year, all the vegetation out there all the moisture is gone out of it. Everything's brown, we know that, right? Couple that with relatively low humidity in the atmosphere, and any little spark can set that stuff off. It's just like kindling. So it doesn't take much to get a fire going. In recent times, we've had a couple of bigger ones that were wind-driven, and those can get out of control very, very quickly. So understand the weather conditions before you do any open burning. Understand the local regulations, right? Here in the city, if you're in the urban service area and you have a hydrant nearby, that's my tie-in, open burning is not allowed. So if you live out in sort of the country areas or the rural areas of the city, open burning can be allowed, but make sure you call into the fire department and get a burn permit. It doesn't cost anything.
If you, I didn't ask this in prior years, but we had the big fire in California this year that was devastating. And, you know, I know you've told us on the show many times, you know, when a tragedy happens, you go back and you look at, you know, what could we have done? What could we change? Could we see something like that anywhere in the U.S.? Like, everybody picks on California for it's been dry, it's been this, it's been that, but
Sure.
We're not immune to that in Wisconsin, are we?
No, we're not immune to that at all. In fact, 2 years ago, I think it was, we had a big fire up at Fort McCoy.
Days.
Yeah, it was days and multiple agencies coming in to help out. Even locally, just burning around your home or any kind of open fire out in the yard, if done on the wrong day, can turn into a whole lot of problems. I was just talking to my counterparts up in the northeast part of the county, and they had one where a gentleman was burning a ditch row, just something that he does every year. He's a farmer. But this one happened to be on a windy day. The wind picked up and it got away from him, and all of a sudden 3 acres were gone. It doesn't take long.
Yeah, I did see during this late part of January, again, it was about late January into February here, multiple fire departments reporting multiple. In fact, I think it was in Columbia County, right, that there was a day that it was multiple fires repeatedly,
That's
and they ended up going countywide with an alert, which I had not seen before. So it can get out quickly, and that's why I say to put that comparison. It can happen anywhere, and you know, so it might sound like, well, it's just a burn ban, or it's just a.
Yep.
There's a reason.
And one thing I want to touch on, I just mentioned, you know, here in the city, if you live in the urban service area, you can't do any open burning. 2 things to clarify. One, that doesn't necessarily include backyard fire pits. We don't consider that open burning. Open burning is generally a term reserved for land management or resource management, right? But here in the city, you will see places that are having open burns. The UW Arboretum is one. Right now there's a gentleman working behind Forest Edge Elementary, and he's clearing out invasive species to make that woods more healthy. He's worked closely with the fire department to put together a burn plan and checks in with us regularly. He also is required to have certain things in place, and that's why he's allowed to have those burns. So there is a difference between the regulated open burning and permitted, and sort of non-permitted or just sort of free-for-all.
We actually see a lot of the springtime burning here with our forest management plans as well, where they hire a contracted service to come in, but they check in with you first off, but also come with the knowledge of dealing with those certain. That's why you hire them. Is there?
Most of the people that do that also work for the DNR, and this is their side gig, and they come to us with very professional burn plans. How they're going to go about it, what are their water sources, how many people are they going to have on site, all the way down to have they notified the neighbors, and then when it comes to day of or game day, are the weather conditions right? Because if they're not, even the best planned burn isn't going to go off.
Yeah. Nope, we certainly appreciate the information. You can find more information on our website on the fire department's page on burn permits, how to obtain them, and what is the urban service area, not urban service area in the places that you can burn. Or, as I always say, just give Mark a call, because he's a pretty nice guy, just saying. Generally.
I'm not terrible. Might check in with my kids on that on occasion.
Crack a smile here, Mark. Jeez, you're trying to sell yourself. Come on.
But yeah, I'm always happy to help. Give a call.
All right, Mark, thank you so much for your time. We really appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you for having me.